Hi, this is Sean from the Heavy Underground Farm Report, and I'm absolutely honored to have Dandy and Dawn from Lorquin's Admiral. They are releasing a new album. Their debut album comes out next month. And if you haven't heard this, you really need to take a listen because it's absolutely stunning, beautiful. I'm just absolutely blown away. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to me.
Awesome, Sean. Thank you.
Of course, Sean.
Thank you very much. Well, you guys, let's just start with, I think, what'll be an obvious question for a lot of people. And, it's the name of your band, Lorquin's Admiral. I know it's a butterfly now, but tell me why you picked that name and what it means to you and your music.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's kind of just in the line of classic rock giants like Jefferson Airplane and have whatnot. It just sounded very nice with that group of syllables.
We're like, well, what the heck are we going to call this project? Very early on, I found the name Lorquin's Admiral. I was going through a list of butterflies, Lepidoptera, and that one just kind of popped out. And so I threw it in the hat, and it just kind of stayed in the hat through all the rounds of trying to find a name for the project.
Tell me about that because I think it fits really well too. When I first heard your name, I thought you were maybe the captaining a gigantic science fiction ship, which kind of fits into the theme of a lot of the music that in the genre. And then when I found out it was a butterfly, I thought, why the butterfly? I guess there's maybe some obvious symbolization regarding butterflies, but tell me, why was the butterfly something that you considered for a symbol for your band?
Well, I think when I first saw the name and I saw the image that was associated with the name, the Lorquin's Admiral itself, I was just pretty astounded at how beautiful that butterfly was. It's really unique. The wing structure and the markings on the wings, I just thought were really, really beautiful. And then, of course, as you choose a name, you start digging further into the butterfly itself. You don't want it to be like something that you don't agree with, with
Right.
butterflies. Turns out the Lorquin's Admiral, even though it is mainly a West Coast butterfly, West Coast United States butterfly, it's a very aggressive, territorial butterfly. It'll attack small birds. Fred subsequently found out about the butterfly, and so again, it just every step it just seemed to roll more and more into this entity of this band.
Butterflies are synonymous with psychedelia, so it only seemed appropriate, with their fractal patterns and coloring and whatnot. And it also has that dichotomy of being a beautiful butterfly, but having such a aggressive name as like an admiral and military figure. And as you were saying, it seemed to really encapsulate what we were going for.
All the parts fit.
Love it. That's a fantastic answer. Psychedelia is obviously an important part of your band. The sound is there. The videos certainly portray that as well. Was that a main focus for you guys when you were writing this album? Did you want to write a psychedelic album, or is that something that just happened through the writing process?
I mean, there's kind of a couple of ways to go about creative projects. You can go from the top down or from the bottom up, just depending on what order you come up with your ideas. And we usually don't do the top down.
Okay, good.
We usually kind of just let it organically sprout into whatever it ends up being. And so there was no really, we didn't anticipate it being psychedelic, but it organically became such.
And I think with Nick and Nick Hannon and Marlon King, the guys that really approached me about the project early on, there was a whole history of kind of that psychedelic stream or genre of music. Those guys were coming out of Sons of Alpha Centauri, which they've done for, quite a few years, and also their projects with Yawning Suns, which also has that kind of psychedelia element to it. So years ago when they contacted me, I think it was 2017 or something like that, with the idea of me contributing to the most recent Yawning Suns album, there was already that foundation of that type of music happening in it. So it just kind of, like Dawn was saying, just kind of organically grew out of the whole band. Just kind of organically came together as we kept moving forward with passing tapes back and forth. Well, not so much tapes, digital files. Uh,
Sure. We could call them
and,
tapes, man.
yeah, and building on the ideas. After we finished the Yawning Sons project, Marlon and Nick and I, we just felt this real comfort with writing material together. As we kept passing those files back and forth, and things kept growing, the sound just kind of came together organically as it did. We didn't set out to write a psychedelic record or to write a hard rock record or anything like that. Just came together as it did.
So, as a non-musician, that's absolutely fascinating to me, that you guys got together. Could you talk about the different members of the band really quickly and where they came from? And not everybody might be familiar with those people and
Yeah.
what you did. And I know you have some amazing guest musicians on your album as well.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Well, as I was saying, Nick and Marlon, they had been doing Sons of Alpha Centauri for quite some time, but they had done all kinds of collaborations as well before that. They had worked with actually John Garcia on a couple of pieces. Well, I don't get into a lot of name dropping. They'd worked with a lot
No,
of
drop those names, baby. No, I'm just kidding.
the guys from Karma to Burn. They'd also worked on some collaborations with them, so they had that history behind them, and I did as well, working with Orquesta del Desierto or putting together Hermano. We had kind of a similar path together, but those guys are phenomenal. They Nick and Marlon, they write such beautiful landscapes in their music. And so I was always intrigued by what they were doing. And when they did finally ask me to help out with the Yawning Sons record, I was just all over it. I was like, yeah,
They
I
had
definitely want to do something.
I'm thinking they had to see an opportunity to utilize the vocals, the fantastic harmonies that you both
Well,
create between
actually,
yourselves.
yeah, I don't think that was their original idea.
Really?
I think they originally wanted me to like contribute some guitar or some bass to it. But once they sent me a couple of riffs for that album over, I was like, I really, really want to sing on this instead of playing instruments this time. And yeah, it just worked out magnificently. And also on the Lorquin's Admiral record, Steve Earle, former first Afghan Wigs drummer, he was, essential to the formation of that band, one of the original members. He has been a dear, dear friend of mine for many, many years, and just a phenomenal drummer. He has a feel that is always in the pocket, and just a really, really amazing musician. And as you were saying, bringing in Dave Angstrom to guest musician on it to do leads on the record, you can never go wrong with Dave Angstrom
Yeah, I
on
do.
the
I am a
record.
huge Dave Hagstrom fan. Sure, he's
Yeah,
great.
tone king. His tones are second to none. And then, of course, Country Mark Engel, also a dear, dear friend from the Midwest. Actually, when I moved to the desert many, many years ago, he ended up coming out as well and worked on their Orquesta del Desierto records with me and has been a contributor to just about everything I've done throughout my musical career, to tell you the truth. And then, of course, Dawn Brown here, who brings such charisma and a magnetic voice to the record. And of course, my life partner, my writing partner.
Mhm.
I wake up every morning able to able to write those riffs, man.
That's wonderful. Like
Yeah,
I think like I have a great relationship with someone who helps me do my show, and so I know how that important like that just ability to jump out of bed and talk about it is
yeah,
fantastic, and that's got to be like it has to add like an interesting depth to your relationship that maybe a lot of relationships don't have to share an art together. Do you think that as is fundamental to your relationship or makes you maybe better partners together? Sorry to ask a personal question, but I'm curious about that.
No, it's a great question. I certainly believe that our level of intimacy kind of brings down this barrier, this creative barrier between the two of us, just
mhm,
because we allow ourselves to share our ideas without any hesitation of oh, it gives you an extra feeling of confidence and being able to share your ideas and whatnot.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't wanna I don't demean anybody else's relationship, of course, but I think we truly have a unique and very special, love with each other and relationship in that we share this unique aspect of our relationship where we create art together and we create music together. And I think in other band situations, I won't say that they've become super competitive or head knocking or anything like that, but we just simply don't have that. There's such a trust and passion in our relationship that there's never a fear to say, "Hey, I've got this. Hey, I've got that," or "Hey, why don't you try this with what you're doing?" And instead of being like, "No, no, no, what I have is already perfect,"
Oh,
we're
that's
both
fantastic.
completely open to, accepting the other
Mhm.
person's idea.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because there's this extra motivation to support each other's ideas and to enhance each other's ideas rather than competing, as you're saying.
Totally.
Man, that's fantastic. Honestly, I absolutely love that, and I find that the things behind the music that help you create are really some of the more interesting things. Like Dandy, for example, you grew up in the eastern United States, and you're from Kentucky, is that correct?
Well,
Or in that area?
Southwest Ohio, my mother's
Okay.
family is mainly from Kentucky, so I spent a lot of time there, and most of my late teens and 20s were spent in northern Kentucky. So, I kind of feel native to both areas.
Yeah. How do you think moving to the desert has affected your musical career? I mean, maybe not just directly in but from like a psychological standpoint, being in such a different environment.
Yeah, well, definitely. We're in Northern California now, which is a whole different animal in itself.
I know I'm from Northern California. It's an animal, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, and Santa Rosa, we can't say enough good stuff
Are
about
you
it.
from Santa Rosa?
We're
Or you're
living.
living in Santa Rosa? I'm sorry. That's
Yeah,
where my brother was born. All right.
living,
Oh,
but we can't say enough good things about living here. It has to be one of the most beautiful areas
absolutely.
that I've lived in many many places. I've lived overseas, I've lived across the United States, and this one certainly has a environment and a psychology to it that is second to none.
I
So
agree.
welcoming, so
Hmm.
affirming, so accepting and tolerant. Not to say that there aren't intolerant people everywhere, but
Of course.
we can go back. Moving to the desert.
Yeah, go ahead.
I
Thank you.
spent all of my early years, teen years growing up in northern Kentucky and southwest Ohio. And I had moved on numerous occasions in Spain and in Paris and in the Netherlands for a bit over those years. But when the new millennia hit, I just had it. I'd had it with the winters. I'd had it with,
Hmm.
some of the conservatism that takes place here. And I love Kentucky and I love Southwest Ohio, but it was entirely too conservative for my blood.
I totally understand.
And when we finished the first Ev Mono record, I think John Garcia knew that I was at the end of my rope, living there in Southwest Ohio, Northern Kentucky. And so he said, "Hey, man, why don't you give the desert a shot? See what you can do. You can come out. I got an extra bedroom, and you can stay as long as you need." And it didn't take much more prodding, man.
That's cool.
I packed up my pickup truck with just about everything I could fit in it and drove out there. And I tell you what, when you come into the desert for the first time, it's a real cleansing and mind opening experience. And as I was coming into that scenery, it definitely inspired tremendously. So much so that I wrote a record, or the first Orquesta del Desierto record. I think I wrote that record within probably a month after getting there. Hey, right on, right on.
I love it. It's great.
And certainly, it was a different direction for me doing that record. Even though I played on, sessioned on just about every genre of music, I had a recording studio in Ohio for a decade and did session work on just about every kind of music you can imagine. But certainly for a record that I had written, that one had moved in a different direction. Um, just wanted to not write the second same record two times, and I've tried to always uphold that. Never write the same record over again. Sometimes that
You're so diverse. You've done a wonderful job of that. Sorry to
Sometimes it
interrupt.
works. Sometimes, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes you put out something that's way different, and people that were fans of your previous work are like, what the fuck is this? And they kind of
Well, Buds,
there are elements of blues, there are elements of pop. There are all those elements in it,
but
and
it's not a clone in any
no,
way. It's
no.
so unique and original. Yeah, sorry to interrupt, man.
No, that's quite all right. And again, once I got out to the desert, I had a teaching career as well that went on for a good 20 years between, living in Florida and living in Ohio, living in Kentucky, and finally taking my degree out to California. I did 20 years of that and loved it for about the first 17. I mean, I loved going into the classroom every day and just talking about literature for a living, which was a tremendous experience as well. And then, of course, at the end of that time, Dawn and I met in the desert, and that opened everything else up for me to meet such a fantastic artist and also a pretty decent tennis player who
Yes.
a couple of lessons on the court.
Love
Uh,
it.
but yeah, and to find such simpatico with someone out there, and to begin to share our vision, our dreams together. It's really made my life complete, to tell you the truth.
That's beautiful, man. I love that. Dawn, tell me a little bit about your background. I don't know as much about you. My apologies, but this is your opportunity to educate
Oh,
me.
yeah, of course, of course. So, I'm from Southern California. I grew up there. I lived the first up until my adulthood. I lived there, and I was really steeped in music my whole upbringing. I'm a third generation musician. My grandfather was in bands. My dad was in bands. He's still in bands. And so it was only natural that I would, pick up music, and I caught the rhythm bug, as they say. And then I moved up to Northern California to pursue a degree in fine art. I got that degree in fine art, and I continue to practice my photography and my music as
Mm-hmm.
life keeps going on, keeps trucking, and we write together.
Mm-hmm.
This has really been, my first foray into music with my relationship with Dandy. I mean, of
What
course, published music, I might add. I've been playing music my entire life, but now I finally have an opportunity to share it with the world. And so I'm so utterly grateful
you
to have.
guys did the Fizz Fuzz together first, right?
Yes.
Tell
Yes.
me tell me about that experience. How was that for you being because I really enjoy the music. I've been listening to the last couple of days and it's like, oh, cool. Once again, the vocalization, the harmony, they're fantastic between you. How did that project come together? And tell me about your thoughts about that.
Yeah, so it was so wonderful to finally be gifted a writing partner because for so long I had all these riffs in my back pocket, always writing, always picking up the guitar and making my little recordings on my voice memos of all my riffs and whatnot. And finally, we decided to start exchanging riffs and kind of doing like what do they call it? Majestic Beast or whatever it is, where you tag on to each other's work. And
Cool.
it's just, I was gifted a mentor.
Oh my God. Okay, let's
Sorry,
back it
Dan.
up just a little bit.
All
Okay,
right,
so
Dandy. You guys are sorry, Dandy. The one thing you have in common with everybody that I've met that knows you is you are all incredibly humble people, and you don't want to take credit for things that maybe you should take. I
oh
get it though,
well,
bud.
the story lies. Dawn was getting ready to begin her semester at Sonoma State, and the summer before that, she and I began to play tennis. And you know, I made the mistake of challenging her, who she'd been playing tennis for a long time. I hadn't played for like 20 years, but of course, I was like, I can whip you out there on the court. It was the most humiliating batch of tennis matches or any sporting event that I've ever been a part of.
He almost broke his finger
I
for
did,
making
I did. You don't dive on the tennis court. I found that out. This is
I
Wimbledon.
love it.
And but anyway, as we were playing tennis, we began to realize how much in common in our attitudes and our outlooks and our passions that we had. And as that developed more, and Dawn came up here to Sonoma to go to school, that just kept developing, that just kept growing, to the point where it's like, well, hey, I'm going to come up there and continue our tennis matches, and I'm done with teaching down here, and I want to start over somewhere. And so Don said, "Come on, let's give this a shot." And from that moment, we were like, "Well, let's since we both play guitar, as Don was saying, let's start sharing these riffs together and see what we can come up with." And within 6 months, we're sitting in clubs in Italy playing an acoustic set of these songs that we started putting together. Now, we weren't the most polished at the time. Certainly, we continue to grow as writing partners and as performers, but that really gave us the bug. We were like, we got to continue to do this, and so we continued to write, and eventually we had enough material to record basically at home the first Fizz Fuzz record, and it's a beautiful record to us.
Yeah.
We definitely enjoy putting it together and putting that record out with the help of Slush Fund out of Atlanta, and also Taxi Driver over in Italy. And we developed relationships in Italy with that band and with other music. And so we just continued to do it through the first two records. And we have another record for the Fizz Fuzz that we recorded last November. But we just haven't had a chance to get into the mixing of that record yet. So many other things.
So things to look forward to.
Oh, yeah,
Excellent.
Always.
So once the Lorquin's Admiral record was ready, and then of course Hermano, we suddenly became active again after not being
Yeah.
active for a while. And so then it was like, well, we're going to put out a live record, and we're going to put out a record with some new material on it, and we're going to do Hellfest. And it's like, oh my God, I haven't played bass, and I haven't played bass in like I don't know, 9 years or something. I better learn how to play bass again.
Oh,
So,
crazy.
yeah. Yeah. So all of that stuff sort of swooped in right about the time we finished recording the new Fizz Fuzz record. And so we kind of had to just slow our roll on that a little bit. So once the Lorquin's Admiral record is out and we get this Hermano show at Hellfest under our belts, then we're going to turn full force back on that Fizz Fuzz record, and we'll have a third one there. And I imagine there'll be many more down the road,
I hope so.
Yeah. Like I say, when you're so in simpatico with somebody, the force of that just moves you forward artistically, and that's definitely what we share together.
Yeah.